Yeah, shout out to all of our subscribers. We love you. We really
Yeah, we've
do.
been getting a
I
few new
mean,
ones.
yeah, I got some comments. Loved responding to them. Let us know. We don't care if you're rude or nice, whatever. We just love the engagement.
Bring it on.
But yeah, no, it's fun. Um, some question marks. Someone before mentioned, without you even bringing it up, had to do with some of the facilities that were brought out, that were rolled out. What, at the beginning of COVID?
Right. Yeah,
What
it
was
was like
he
a
or she talking about?
very specific topic.
That you personally worked on, and we
I
were like, do they know him? Like, what's going on?
yeah, I don't think I've
Um,
ever given any indication of like having worked on that.
right. Certainly
And
not in
the
this episode.
username was like it was not a word. It was a list of like three letters kind of like
Mm,
repeating. It was a
Surprise! It was me. No, I don't. We don't know who it was.
mystery solved.
Yeah.
At any rate, over the past week, financial markets have finally cooled down just a little bit. But over the past week, we've also gotten a few more economic data points. Also, just in general, this is something that I thought would be useful to do on an ongoing basis, especially with how controversial some of many of the decisions by the new administration and many of the actions that they have taken have become recently. We're at this extremely uncertain point right now where very big things have been done and things could go very wrong, or I hope they go very right. But we really need a way of kind of judging that objectively, or at least of as objective as we can. So the natural one that I go to, of course, is economic data. So I wanted to, in that context, talk about a couple of the new data points that we got over the past week, but also distinguish between the idea of what like people call like hard economic data and soft economic data. People like refer to them in different ways, but generally speaking, hard economic data, what was GDP growth last quarter? Or what was the gain in employment last quarter? It's something that, it's difficult to measure, but it's something that happened in the world. We measure it and we report it and we try to contextualize what's going on. Employment went way up after all these new policies went into place. Does it guarantee that it was those policies that did that? Not necessarily, but at least we know the direction in which things are going. And then in contrast, you've got your soft economic data, or typically these are expectations. So a lot of these entities will just go out and issue surveys about various metrics. So rather than like asking how they think a politician is doing, say, what do you expect the rate of inflation to be over the next year, over the next 3 years, or next 5 years? So it's not something that has even happened. It's just what people think. But inflation in particular is one of those funny ones because it has a way of perception influencing reality. We had two sets of inflation related data points over the past week, two of actual data, hard data, and then two of expectations. So I wanted to go over both of those right now, kind of in the context of where we're at right now, a couple weeks post Liberation Day. It hasn't been long enough to see the effects yet, but we're seeing what our starting point is. So, Luke, what do you think? Do you want to do hard data or soft data first?
Oh, I thought we were going to do just soft data because I didn't think anything would have showed up in hard data. But let's do soft data first.
All right, so this is the New York Fed's website, inflation expectations. Last time we talked about this, we were looking at the 1 year out inflation expectations, and it was pretty flat basically. And in fact, it's been flat for about the past year now until this week. So this blue line is the 1 year expectation, red is 3 year, and then this beige brown is 5 year. So the 1 year expectation in general, it's more volatile because it's over a shorter time window. Things can move around a lot more, whereas over these longer time windows, there's more time for changes in prices up and down to kind of smooth out and average themselves out. The thing the Fed is really concerned about is this long-term inflation expectations. So if someone is thinking 5 years from now, inflation's still going to be going up, they're going to make very different decisions if they think 1 year from now they're going to go up. But 3 years and 5 years out, we're probably going to be okay. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much where we're at today.
Yeah. And that's important because if they start seeing the 5 year tick ahead, that means they're going to start questioning the credibility of the Fed. And that's a big no no.
The red and beige line basically at their longer term average pre 2022 inflation. But the 1 year, this was the big talking point, 3.1% in February, now in March, 3.6%. That's pretty big. We haven't seen this level since late 2023 when inflation was on a pretty steady trajectory downward, and then it flattened out and kind of stayed around there. So this could be the start of inflation turning around again. So this is soft data. So it's not what has happened, but it's what people are thinking is going to happen at this point. The other one that we got was from the University of Michigan. If we're seeing here that this 1 year ahead went up by about 0.5%, what do you think the other survey went up by?
125 basis points. Oh, hello.
This one is a bit scarier. This one is like really out of the ordinary.
Whoa.
So the past couple of months, it's been ticking upward. But this one in particular, I think month over month, it was like 4 point something or 5 point something. And it went up to. So what we're looking at here is this black dotted line is the month over month observations. And then the blue line just smooths that out a little bit on a rolling average. So the black dotted line, it's looking pretty scary. In February, it was right around 5%. And this one, I think the latest number is 6.7. And so if we look at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, this was in the same area. This was below 3% still. So not only has this spiked up by over 3%, it's more than doubled.
Yeah, I mean that eclipses what was going on. Yeah. These are expectations over the next year. Okay.
That's kind of the point. These things can vary pretty wildly. The directionality is all the same at this point. So
Yeah.
that's the big debate. If all these tariffs going in, are they going to be, like Powell said recently, transitory? Is there going to be a one-time uptick in prices? Or are we going to see this eventually start to feed through into those longer-term inflation expectations? Haven't seen it yet, but fingers crossed.
Interesting.
In terms of hard data, March CPI. And so the past couple of months now, we've begun following this. Really, the punchline is from the perspective of trying to get inflation down, this looked pretty good. So on a month over month basis, aggregate pricing actually declined by 0.1%. Starting mid last year, we saw it gently starting to rise higher. Not exactly clear why that was, but we've seen it kind of decidedly turn around, at least in the past 2 months so far. On a year-over-year basis, we see this coming down in a similar way. And so this is only showing the last year, but the other thing to point out is that this core measure, this burgundy line, this is actually the lowest point that it's been since 2022 when inflation spiked up and began to fall.
Oh.
Non-core one, the headline number, it's you can say something almost the same, but we did technically reach this low point in September, but we're right back there. But on this burgundy line, this would be seen as like a major victory for the Fed in the fight against inflation. It looked like inflation was kind of flatlining around the 3% area, but for the first time, we finally saw this core number fall below 3%. That looks pretty good, but no one really cared because all anyone can ever think about at this point, reasonably so, is inflation. So this is our starting point, though. Trump's got a pretty good entry point to hopefully having this downward inflationary pressure this momentum that he's walking into that's began, in January, as soon as his term began. How resilient is that going to be in the face of these new tariffs?
That's a good question. You know what they say, finance folks always looking into the future, accountants looking at the past.
So yeah, that's it. Inflation. There's some data on like retail sales and stuff. It was very much up. It increased quite a bit, but it was almost entirely due to the sale of used cars. People said, oh, everyone's rushing to go and buy cars right now. Yeah. Again, it kind of looked healthy, but it's just kind of tainted from this
that kind of
tariff backdrop.
That reminds me sort of the previous episode I should have mentioned with the great tariff debate, and we were footnoting it and looking into how China is. We are reliant, might be too heavy of a word, but we import a lot of electronics from China. So, if you want that new iPhone, you should probably go get it now. It's kind of what I'm saying. So we don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Inflation is going to be front of mind for a very long time still. We're going to keep a close eye on it. Any question you guys have, drop them in the comments below. We'll be sure to address them.
Thanks for the update, Joe. I appreciate it. I'll take it to work with me tomorrow.
Anytime.
Amen. All right.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm Joe.
I'm Luke.
See you next time.
Good night.